What's up everyone, and in this video I'm going to share my 2 cents with you all that nobody asked for about this new electric Mini Cooper that we've been seeing around the internet. It's been out for about 2 days now, so I've had a little bit of time to go through, look at it, study those pictures, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on what I think about it so far. So let's start at the front and work our way to the back. So you can see these photos on several different sites. I'll leave a link in the description to a couple of sources where you can see these photos. But in the photos in the front of this electric Mini Cooper, what we're seeing is the new front end, and it's kind of slightly related to the older model with that handlebar mustache grille surround. But this one, there's not much chrome on the rest of the car. We'll get to the rest of the car in a little bit, but this grille surround, is this chrome or is this a white paint that matches the white roof and mirrors? I can't quite tell from the photos exactly, but it's interesting to see if maybe we could get that painted a different color. Otherwise, I think that might be the only chrome on the car itself. And speaking of chrome, one of the things we should mention is that beltline trim in these photos. It is, at least in these photos, it's black, not chrome anymore. And it doesn't seem to wrap around to the back of the car. It only seems to be on the sides. And so while we're talking about this front grille bumper area, one thing that I'm pretty excited about is how much easier this is going to be to wash and detail this car with this more flush front end. We don't have all these little nooks and crannies and hexagonal shape patterns with depth in them that we do in the current cars, which I think look awesome, but they are a tedious task to clean out the bugs out of them and keep it clean. If you're like me and you wash your car on the regular and you want to keep it always looking nice, the front bumper is always the last thing I do because it takes the longest, and I have to sit there and work through all these little nooks and crannies to get everything nice and clean. This is much smoother, much more flush. It should be much easier to keep looking clean and take up a lot less time to do that. So overall, I like this. You can see we got some sensors and cameras up there to give these cars some more driving assist features that you see in many other brands these days. Another thing I wanted to mention is right above the mirror on the front windshield, you see the little word Mini. I think that's a pretty cool little Easter egg where they hide the word up in there. I think it looks good. I love this Mini font. I mean, I'm a huge fan of it, if you can't tell already. But yeah, this is a cool little detail I wanted to mention. I really like it. I like that little Mini word up there at the top of the windshield. But looking at the side of the car, there's no plastic trim around the wheel arches anymore. If you've seen the last 3 generations of these modern Minis, you've seen the plastic wheel arch that goes around those wheels on almost every model. So yeah, gone are those plastic arches around the wheel wells, and so, oh wait, this one doesn't have any. Hold on a second. This is better. So yeah, here's that plastic wheel arch. We don't have the trim around it anymore. We do still have the trim along the bottom and the front, but it's no longer around the wheels, which means the body color comes right down here. So yeah, you can see that on there. I think with the right size wheel tire combo, it's gonna look just as good. And I kind of like this front end. It looks a little bit like the Honda E. To me, it feels like that. And that was a, I think, well-received car. I like the look of this front end. The overhangs got, I think, just a fraction shorter. Not as short as we probably all would have liked to have seen, but it still looks proportionally correct with this wheel size combination and these panel sizes. And speaking of the overhang, I think the car gets just a tad longer, maybe a ½ an inch. But again, with the proportions of the wheels and everything and the panel sizes of the car, I think it maintains the Mini proportions despite getting just a tad bit larger. And while we're still here on the side of the car up towards the front, we have no more side scuttle, where normally we'd have a blinker and maybe a badge indicating what model you have. We now have a flush side, and we move the indicator up onto the mirror, which appears just a tad larger, and it looks like it's a two-tone mirror, right? We've got black on the bottom and white on the top. I imagine you can have your two-tone mirror match the same as your roof color. We'll have to wait and see. But I also want to look at the side door. If you look at the reflections of the parking lines on the ground into the door, you see a lot of refraction, especially on the really lower bottom third. And in one shot here, you can kind of see what almost appears like a extra trim piece placed on the door, where it's a little more concave. I'm not sure exactly from these photos what that might be. It almost looks like there's a little gap that makes me think that it's like it's an extra trim piece put on rather than the actual crease of the car. But once we see the actual car in person, maybe we'll get to know a little more details about it. But I just thought this reflection is interesting. I'm not sure what's going on here. And above this weird crease thing we got going on, we got the door handles. They no longer protrude. Mixed emotions on that. They're now flush and they look very similar to BMW door handles that we've seen on some other models. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how it goes. I do like the fact that they're body color and they really blend in really well, and it's one less thing you have to delete the chrome on if you're like myself and want to get rid of all the chrome on your car. And behind that, we have this charge port, because this is the electric model. This is not the gas model. This is the electric model. So this is presumably the charge port door on the back of the car. It's on the back passenger side here in the US, just like it is on the current Mini Cooper SE. And so that just means for charging, you're probably gonna continue to back into the charging spots because it's back there on the back side of the car. Okay, before we get around to the back of the car, because there's a lot of things going on with the back of the car, let's jump up to the roof for a second. This sunroof up here that we see on this, we don't get a full view of the sunroof. It looks too large to be an opening functional sunroof, so maybe it's just a kind of panoramic glass up there. We'll know more once we see these cars if they're going to actually come with sunroofs that actually open and operate, or if it's just going to be a pane of glass up there. But it's kind of a weird shape to be one or the other. It's a little too long. But right behind that is something I think is pretty exciting, and it's this more shark fin antenna. So traditionally, Minis have come with this larger antenna in the past, and then most often people will switch it to this stubby antenna. I think that's probably the most common upgrade I see on a Mini. Now we're going to have a shark fin. If you look at these new photos, it's a nice smooth shark fin with paint color to match the roof color, so it just blends in a little bit better. I think it'll look really cool, and I think you might start to see some wraps or two-tone covers so that you maybe have a black roof with a red shark fin cover to look at that little bit of contrast, or vice versa, red with a black one. But in this shot, we see it match the roof color as well. I love the shark fin look though. Okay, now let's get around to the back of the car. This is the part that a lot of people have been talking about. And I've noticed a couple of things on the back of the car, and I wanted to share my thoughts about the back of the car. First thing I want to talk about is that brake light. If you look at the brake light, it appears that it's no longer behind the glass, but is up in the trim or body panel itself, up on the rear spoiler. I don't know what that means for maybe a JCW model that might have a larger wing, where that third brake light goes. And I do think this is the final design for that third brake light, because if we look at some of the pictures that have been provided of the upcoming electric Mini Countryman, we do see that third brake light also up into the trim / body panel area and no longer behind the glass where it has been traditionally for the last 3 generations. Moving down the back, we've got the boot, and we've got probably the most controversial piece of this is these taillights, and they're more triangular in shape than most of the other elements on the car. They're mostly round, but they are LED, and they are going to be customizable, where you can change kind of the patterns that they show, because not everybody loves the Union Jack taillights, and that's okay. You have the right to be wrong once in a while, but this gives you the flexibility to have the Union Jack taillights, and I think change some other options. They said there's going to be a couple of different options you could choose from. So this gives that flexibility for people that aren't really in love with those Union Jack taillights to try something different. And I also noticed that they're flush now with the body. Traditionally in the R60, in the F56, in the F55s, in any of the F-Series cars, those taillights protrude out quite a bit. It gives it a kind of fun, blocky, bubbly look. Now they are flush with the back of the car, which I think takes away a little bit of the fun of the car. But I think that these pictures may not do it justice. We really probably have to see it in person to understand what's going on there and form a stronger opinion about it. Another thing I want to mention is that from the looks of the back, the cutout on the boot is I think a little sharper now, because it's got to go around those sharper looking lights. And so here on the current F56 models and the R56 models, it's a little more round as it goes around the headlights. This one looks like it's going to be a little more angular, a little sharper. We'll have to wait and see when somebody actually opens the boot to see what that boot shape actually looks like. But here's what it looks like on a modern one. So you see that cutout is pretty smooth and pretty large. The new one looks like it's going to be a little smaller and a little more sharp angles. Now what we don't see is from the interior of the car, you can kind of look through the back and you can kind of see the letter P for park on the top of this giant round display. It still stays in the car, but it looks more like it's floating off of this more simpler dash that we're probably going to see. You can also see in this picture at least, and again this probably is a slight pre-production model, you have some fixed headrest seats, much like you do in the GP. These do not have an adjustable headrest. That is often an option depending on what package you're getting, but maybe this is now the standard, the fixed headrest seats. We'll have to wait and see. So yeah, that's it. These are just some of my thoughts and my opinions based off of what I'm seeing in these photos on the sites all around the internet. Overall, I'm really excited to see this. I love this blue color. I can't wait to see it in some other colors as well. I love these wheels that this car has. I think overall the looks and proportions of the Minis stayed true to themselves despite some changes in geometries, but overall I'm excited for it. I can't wait to get one of these I know in the States we're not going to get them for a while, but I'm excited to see them come out. Here's some reviews from those folks over in Europe, and then eventually get them over here in the States. we'll make room in my garage for one when they become available here. So yeah, that's it. Those are my thoughts. Those are my 2 cents about this car that you didn't ask for. What do you think about this car? Let me know down in the comments below. Tell me what you think. This is the new electric Mini Cooper. I like it. I'm a fan. I'm excited for it. But let me know what you think. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. It really helps the channel out. And as always, when you see other minis out there and when you see these new ones in the future, don't forget to wave. I'll catch you all in the next one.